Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for saying yes to this amazing call. You guys know we are super excited. We're a nonprofit organization who is dedicated to education and bring more resources to college, to high schools, to parents. We try to outreach everybody and to support everybody in the best way we can. My name is Ligia Sosel. I'm the Director of College Access here in Indiana Latino Institute, and I've been working in here for a little bit of time, and I'm excited to continue working and supporting all the families all across the state. We are thrilled to have these wonderful speakers today and bring more resources to you. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we also will have timing so you guys can open your mic and ask all the questions that you have. We have a Nick Duvall, we have a Neil Clark, and we have Natalie Duarte today. So thank you so much for being here. And also, I would like to introduce you with my colleague, Clara Revelo.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. We will, like Ligia say, we will be sharing helpful information to support all the students that we have, and we have these amazing speakers today who will be joining us and giving a lot of information to support these, students. So yeah, Ligia.
Okay, I'm not able to share this screen. Do you have it now?
I see it. So
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. A little technical issue in here. There you go. Ready. Can you see it?
yes,
Okay, good. Okay, this is a little piece of who we are. This is the
open it.
Indiana Latino
I'm
Institute,
sorry,
and we.
open it. You need to open it because it's small.
Okay. Okay, let me see. I'm sorry, guys. Ready. It works good?
Yeah, now it was good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we're the Indiana Latino Institute, and we are dedicated to advance education attainments, workforce preparedness statewide through advocacy, leadership, development, and culturally responsible programs. Would you like? Okay, ILI path to success is divided in college access, college success, workforce development, career and advanced professional growth, and we also have leadership. How do we do this in ILI? We do it through advocacy and policy efforts all across the state. And there you go. Well, we are excited to announce that we are in our 14th year with the Education Summit College and Career Fair. This is just a free resource for all across the state. We host this event on 3 locations. We have the first one that is going to be November 3rd in South Bend. The second one is going to be in Fisher in November 11th, and the third one in Evansville. And we would like to give you a little update of how are we doing in our high school registration. Since yesterday, we have in South Bend registered 914 students, so we have 581 spots available. In Indianapolis, we're almost at full capacity. We're hosting 2,000 students, and the spots available are 208. And Evansville in the South, we still a little short, so we need a lot of support from all of you to have to register a little more students. We are just in 413, and we just registered 87.
Okay, so thank you, Ligia. We are now working on the College and Career Fair 2 for the summit, and we want to give you some updates on how we're doing. For South Bend, the goal is 60 business, our institutes or institutions who will be tabling and will be part of the College and Career Fair and the summits. For South Bend, we have 60 is the goal. The current we have 29, so we're gonna need like more support on that one. Indianapolis, the goal is 75. We're on 39. It's going in there, but we need more recent progress and we need a little bit of support. Also, we have Evansville. That one is a little bit lower, but it's the one that we need more support in this one. So we have 18 current. and we're hoping to work on this and have all that to reach all the goals. Okay, so to move forward, saying all this about the summit, we want to introduce our first speaker, which is Nick Duval, that worked for TeenWorks. Nick, thank you for being here, for support this committed, and to share all the information and insights that you do empowering teens through work and volunteer experiences. Thank you for being here, and it's all yours.
Well, again, thank you guys for having me. I love being able to kind of talk the mission and talk about how valuable letting teens be empowered through the work that we get to do and work that they get to do, and just exploring new career opportunities. So, I'll kind of kick off a little bit about, what TeenWorks does. And I think do you have the clicker, or do I get the clicker this time? I think you got it. So I'll tell you what, I'll just hold up a finger when we're ready to go. Sound good?
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, so TeenWorks, a little bit about what we do. We employ young people through their first summer job experiences, and our goal is to empower them to have excellence in community, college, and career. Our group really focuses on under-resourced populations. Our goal is to help them remove that first barrier to that first experience that they're going to have, and just to make sure that every young person has the opportunity to work. Because in a lot of instances, when these under-resourced young populations here in Central Indiana and across the state now, opportunity is not always distributed equally, right? Some folks have young people at home that have the ability to work. They have transportation. They have a large social circle. They have a lot of different things that they're working through. And so our whole goal is to make sure that they can get that hands-on soft skill development before they get to an employer, right? Before they get to college, before they get to that next step after high school. And so we do this through a couple of different things. One, the reason we're in the business of doing this is because we're hearing from employers, right? The reason having young people work early is because employers now are reporting across the board that people are showing up to the job site, they're showing up to the office, they do not have the soft skills. They're not showing up on time. They're not understanding workplace relationships. They're not understanding that their investment into their own future matters, and the whole goal of TeenWorks is to make sure they have that. So this summer, we'll employ about 700 young people across the state of Indiana. They'll come on board with us. They'll get paid. They'll have different high wage and high job demands. And we're going to equip them with those skills that they're going to need after high school. And what's kind of unique about what we do and why we love the idea of employability skills being taught to young people is because these skills are going to pay them well in high school through academic studies, staying on task, creating a plan, working their plan, having accountability, showing up on time, being engaged when they're there. And so for us, that's a big piece so that they can be successful after high school. So they also become empowered to, hey, this is my journey. This is what we're going to take on, and this is how I'm going to do that. And so then we kind of do that through our next set of skills in our summer program, particularly, that we're ready for the next slide. It's interesting because, the narrative right now is kids don't want to work. And as we'll go to the next slide too, we can go ahead and go to that next one. We get around 2,000 applications for 600 slots in our opportunity. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Where we're understanding and seeing that group really want to be here, really want to have access to the jobs. And we do that through having them employed for full-time over the summer. We pick them up in their neighborhoods, pay their wages, couple them with individuals that are skilled and advanced in workplace and career-driven fields. And what we've figured out that this program helps them explore opportunities in the work environment that they're not going to get probably at school. They're not always going to see these hands-on experiences and get to try them out. They're not going to get to maybe do nursing program, which we allow our young people to come and get their CNA. They don't get to do a construction job over the summer because they are under-resourced. And, since we're providing their transportation to and from their job sites, their work, paying their wages, they can have a safe environment to try these different experiences out. And what I love about this is the program also continues to help spark different empowered pieces in a young teen, because not always is each teen going to be successful in just an academic setting, right? They may be looking at, hey, can I be successful in this workplace environment? So what's really unique about us is you do not have to be a college-bound young person to be involved in our program, right? Because each young person is going to be equipped with the set of skills that they're God-given, and they can work on those things. But some kids naturally are very good about working through their job placement versus their academic careers. So actually, we can go ahead and go on to number 3. There we go. That's the slide we're on. Perfect. And what I love about it, you can see some of our numbers here. You know, these are the number of hours our kids, young people work. This is the number of professional development where they get to build their resume. You know, you're talking about a 14-year-old person being empowered to talk about, hey, these are the skills that I'm possessing right now, or these are the skills that I'm learning. They come in and they get to create an online LinkedIn profile. They're talking about personal branding. They're talking about how they go to a interview. They have mock interviews that are done with professional business owners. So they're getting to sit in rooms that they don't often get to sit in outside of the classroom, right? They're going to see Chase executives. They're going to see young people in these new spaces. And it's a really cool opportunity that they get to have that is done through a very controlled method, right? Where we don't often see that. And you will notice from the time they get to us in the first 6 weeks until the time they leave us, it is a completely different young person. And that's why it's so important to give these opportunities to young people. As you can see here, you know, they're getting 3 out of the 4 employability skills rubrics that we're using across the state. They're kind of flipping the college going rate for an underserved population here, where I think the last college equity report, about 25 to 30% of young under-resourced teens and students are going to college. You know, 75% of the TeenWorks scholars and employer alumni are going on to a secondary education, whether that's a skilled trade labor, whether that's a 4-year university or your 2-year trade. This has just unlocked a lot of doors for them. And I think that's why it's so important to get them at a young age to understand, hey, these are all opportunities. You don't have to just choose kind of that one path that we've been taught that college is the only way, right? There can be skilled trades, there can be employability pieces, but you can also then take the skills that you're learning, showing up on time, being engaged, and you can apply that to your academic piece as well, which I really love, because that means they can continue to develop their skills regardless if they're going on to college or whether they're going on to those employability pieces. And, you know, TeenWorks has been really fortunate in that. And as you can see, the population that we're dealing with tonight now is, you know, about 85% of our young people have high ACEs, an acute childhood experience. So these are the most vulnerable population. And if we can uplift them and give them the resources they don't often see with their counterparts, where someone that maybe has a little bit more support at home, or maybe a young person that has a little bit more monetary means, they get to have those experiences. What we're doing at TeenWorks is allowing all of our students to have those. And so we'll kind of go on to that next slide. And, you know, one thing that I really do love about what we're doing is we're developing career pathways that are very particularly geared towards a young student's pathway, whether they're going to a 2-year college or they're going to a 4-year university experience, or they just want to try something in high school younger, to where we make sure that they don't get into college. And I'm guilty of this. I showed up, I thought I wanted to be one thing, and I completely flipped my major. So I took a full 1.5 years of what I would consider not wasted time, but definitely borrowed time, because I was spending money, time, and energy on trying out something that I realized I didn't want to do. If I could have done that in high school, if I could have done that earlier with this employability program, I could have saved my young adult 1.5 years and my money in college, that I could have realized, hey, I don't want to do this. I wanted to do this other thing. And so that's what I love about the program. And that's why I think it's really important for us to continue to give these opportunities and to continue to promote these programs like TeenWorks, like a Big Brothers Big Sisters, like a Groundworks, all those organizations, Ascend, MAP, to allow these young person to have these experiences. And again, I think it's also really important for us to promote these job experiences because a lot of the times these are the young people that tend to get overlooked, right? We see their counterparts, they're getting scholarships to go to college for athletics. They're seeing their academic counterparts who are getting 4.0s, who are excelling in school. They're seeing them sign these really cool scholarship letters and getting these opportunities. But I think we're realizing that these trade young people, these individuals going into cosmetology and licensing, construction, they should be celebrated too, because that's just a different path to success, right? And they have that opportunity to be successful. It's something that should be celebrated. And not oftentimes do you get that. So that's why I love the idea of getting these employability skills and these volunteer opportunities and highlighting them at a big level and saying, hey, these are just as important as the kids that are getting 4.0s or the kid that can, throw that touchdown pass. It's just as important. And so we'll go on to that next slide. And you can see it for us, it's interesting because it just doesn't end with college for us too. I know we talk about young people and that continuum you see for ILI where they work on too, right? Where that pipeline after high school that we work with is really important because we're seeing more and more that the milestones that we were hitting at ages 16, 17, 18 and working and getting those job experiences, or we were a little more mature at that ages. Now that we've had some of the COVID data come out, now that we've seen some of the iPad and digital world negatives where young people just don't seem to be as mature as they once were at a certain age, it's really important now for us to stay with them after high school. So as you can see here, we do career pipelines, we do alumni job fairs, we do a funds to change careers even at 18, 19, 22. If you go directly into the workforce, you want to change it up, you can come back to TeenWorks and say, hey, I'd like to change my career. What do we have in that realm of changing our experiences? So we love the idea of doing that younger so they can explore early. And then if they figure out, hey, I want to do something different, let's kind of pivot as we move forward. And then we'll kind of go to our last thing, which, our last slide here that I also think is really interesting because we're seeing a lot of really cool data. These are some of just the barrier busting things that we really focus on. But now we're really seeing some cool outcomes from getting these kids these employability and these volunteer experiences younger. We've been tracking data now up to 10 years after our program, and we're seeing their GPAs in high school raise a full letter grade if they stay in our program more than a year. We're seeing them go to a college persistent rate at about 3 times as high as the average young men and women of Black and brown descent that is going to college programs in Indiana. About triple in our program is going to a post-secondary education. We're also seeing really cool data now with our alumni who are now graduating from college, who have been through our scholarship program, who have gotten academic support and financial support through college. They're more likely than their counterparts to get and own a home. They are and have more adequate and advanced health care, which we know is traditionally one of the barriers to a successful adult life. They're gaining livable wage jobs at almost double the rate as their counterparts are after high school through all these experiences, because they're coming out of our program with real world job experience. They have a certification, whether it's their CNA, a safe cert in the culinary world, or they're gaining opportunity in the construction and getting a Lean Six Sigma, or they're going through the Connexus program with our partners over at Central Indiana Community Partnership, right? So we're really excited about kind of the pathway, and we're a partner with Ascend and MAP and what they do, and we just see that there's going to be a lot of really cool opportunities for us as we continue to move forward. And anytime we can get a young person this experience younger and earlier, it seems to be a home run for us, and that's why we're so passionate about doing that at TeenWorks.
Thank you so much, Nick, for give us this amazing overview of how TeenWorks works. And thank you for telling us and empowering all of these students all across the state. This program is wonderful. When I heard about all of you guys, I was extremely excited. It's like, I want to learn more about them. How do they do that? How can we connect all the students so they can have the same opportunities? You say a lot of good stuff like ability, leadership, experience, job experience, scholarships, Better living, better living. It is something that we're looking for all of our students, and informing all the educators all across the state that these resources exist, these resources are available, and they just can connect with the whole team, the TeenWorks, because they're friendly, and they have multiple resources that can provide you. Thank you, Nick. Thank you for being with
Thank you.
us today. We're so happy and
Yeah,
excited to have you today.
I appreciate that. And I think I'll answer one. There was one question in the chat. Is the program only available in Indy? No, we have programs in Indianapolis, which is exactly Marion County, technically. So Marion County, Delaware County, which is Muncie, Allen County, which is Fort Wayne, and then Madison County currently, which is Anderson. So kind of along the I-69 corridor. And then our hope is to be in South Bend, in St. Joe County next year. And our applications will open in December of this year for the following summer.
Perfect, perfect. We may gonna ask you in a little bit for some contact information, and we can send it to all of our educators and the ones who are not present right now, so they can reach out to you, to your team, and connect and sign up for this wonderful opportunity for their students.
Absolutely. So, thank you guys again.
No, thank you, Nick, for being part of this part of this Zoom meeting today, and give all this really important information to help our students to grow in the workforce. So, well, we're going to our next speaker. This is going to be Neoka Clark. She's a Senior Director of Workforce Strategies at Advent. She will be speaking about the work-based learning and internship opportunities for high schools and college students. Neoka, we're so excited to have you today, and it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Nyoka Clark with Ascend Indiana, and the team that I lead at Ascend is specifically helping schools and organizations and employers offer more work-based learning opportunities, both to high school students and to college students. And the reason you might be hearing about work-based learning more and more and more lately is because of the change in graduation requirements. So if you go ahead and go on to the next screen, the State Board of Education here in Indiana recently changed high school graduation requirements. And there were a couple big changes that went into place. So these are for our current freshman class as well and younger. So anyone who's currently a freshman and younger, and then schools can opt in to these requirements early. So they can use these requirements also for seniors, juniors, and sophomores, but it goes into effect for every student starting with this year's freshman class. So there's a couple big changes. One change is that now in Indiana, students can only earn one diploma. They all earn the exact same diploma, but the classes that they take towards that diploma have changed a little bit. That's not what I want to focus on today. What I want to focus on is the next change to these graduation requirements, which are what are called diploma seals. So if you go ahead and turn to the next slide. So the diploma seals are these extra criteria that students can take or maintain beyond just their classes in high school to prepare them for whatever their next step is.
ILI.
So if you want to go ahead and switch to the next slide. So we've got criteria to help students for enrollment. So if they want to enroll in a post-secondary institution or training after high school, then here are some criteria that will help them be successful. The middle column there are for employment seals. So these are criteria and activities that help prepare students for success in the workplace. And then the last column are your enlistment seals. And these are criteria and activities to prepare students for success in the armed forces. There are 6 seals total. So each pathway has 2 seals, an honors and an honors plus. And students can earn multiple seals. So it's not like you're locked in to one choice. You can earn multiple seals by the time you graduate. What I want to focus on with you all today is that of these 6 seals, 3 of them require students to have work-based learning. So if you move to the next slide, those 3 seals are going to be your enrollment honors plus, and then both of your employment seals. So three of the six seals means that there are going to be a lot more students in Indiana looking for work-based learning opportunities in order to get one of these seals. So if you move to the next slide, each of these seals have a different requirement for hours. So for students to earn the Enrollment Honors Plus, and again, this is the seal that is to prep students for post-secondary training or education. To get that plus seal, students have to get at least 75 hours of work-based learning. One of the key things, though, to keep in mind is that if a student earns that Enrollment Honors Plus seal, they are automatically accepted to every public institution in Indiana and several private colleges as well. That's a huge, huge deal for students, and what an incredible opportunity. But it means schools have to find a way to get those kids 75 hours of work-based learning. When we move over to our our employment seals, the top seal, the Enrollment Honors, requires 150 hours of work-based learning. And keep in mind, students can stack up to 3 different experiences to meet that 150-hour mark. So it doesn't all have to be at one time. The last seal with a work-based learning requirement is the Employment Honors Plus seal, and that requires 650 hours of work-based learning that happens before a student graduates from high school. With the Employment Honors Plus seal, if a student graduates with that, they are guaranteed an interview with an employer in that same industry. So in the industry they did their work-based learning in, they're guaranteed an interview with an employer in that industry after graduation. So again, a really, really great opportunity for students, meaning schools are going to be looking for ways to do this. And the good news is that there are lots of different options. So if you go ahead and go to the next slide, the state of Indiana has put out guidance saying that there are 11 different types of work-based learning that will count towards these seals. When I go around the state and I talk to employers or organizations or schools, when they hear work-based learning, they almost always equate it to internships or apprenticeships, right? Of students having to go to an employer, working for an employer. And that's absolutely true. Those are absolutely types of work-based learning. But there are several different types of WBL that take place within the school and during the school day, which are fantastic options for schools because not every kid has the ability to leave their school during the school day for a significant period of time. And not every employer is able to take on a high school intern or a high school apprentice. So it's good for everyone to know that there are these other options. So if you go to the next slide, here are 5 types of work-based learning that can take place within a school during the school day. So first is that industry-based team challenge. So this is going to be like project-based learning, where an employer comes in, gives your class a real-life problem that their business is facing. The class works on a bunch of solutions. They present those solutions out to the employer gives them feedback, etc. That counts as work-based learning. And then if your school or your students start their own business and they're running their own business, they're creating products, they're selling products or services, that counts as work-based learning. And those are things that can easily happen within a class period during the school day. And if you have a student who wants to just do their own thing and wants to run just their own business all by themselves, that also counts as work-based learning. So there are tons of opportunities that provide a lot more equitable access for students rather than just assuming that they can go out and they can work for an employer during the school day. Now, you've got to keep in mind, all of these experiences have requirements. And if you go to the next slide, here are the requirements from the state of Indiana. So no matter the type of work-based learning, they all have to meet these things. So one, they have to be at least 25 hours long. And remember, you can stack up to 3 experiences, but they have to be at least 25 hours long. And they have to have the students interacting directly with someone who is currently employed in that same industry. So what that direct interaction looks like, it could be that they hired the student, right? And the student is working for them. But it can also just be mentorship. It could be that the employer is coming in and evaluating whatever the students are doing and creating. They can provide that quality control check. There are lots of options for how employers can be involved, but they do need to be involved in some way. What the students are doing has to take place in either a real workplace, right, where they're going and they're working for an employer, or a simulated workplace. So if your school has an auto body shop where the kids are, working on donated cars and things like that, but the auto shop at school runs just like an auto shop would, that counts. That's a simulated workplace. If you set up your business classroom to run like an office, that counts as a simulated workplace. So there's lots of options. You also want to make sure that what the students are doing are actual real tasks that are helping them develop the skills that employers are actually looking for in the workplace. So getting that employer involvement in that will help you figure that part out. And then this is a huge key here. No matter the type of experience, there has to be a training plan on file. So that training plan has to say, this is what the kids are learning. This is how they're going to be assessed. This is who is responsible for them at different points of the school day. And then it has to be signed by all parties relevant to the student. So not just the student and their parent and guardian. If they have an IEP, their teacher of record needs to sign this training plan. You want to think anybody who needs to know if the student is around adults that aren't their teachers at any point, if the student is leaving the school building during the school day, anybody who needs to know those things has to sign that document. So you want to think like case managers and parole officers, etc. So you just want to make sure that you've got all of the relevant parties. But if you do all of these things, it counts as work-based learning. So I highly encourage you, if you're a teacher, think outside the box with this and how can you provide more opportunities to students? If you're an organization, how can you help schools think out of the box? How can you help them bring in employer partners knowing that the lift is much less than asking an employer to hire a kid during the school day? There's lots of different ways you can help schools offer more of these because remember, with the new graduation requirements, more and more students are going to be seeking out these opportunities. So this is at the high school level, which includes, lots of different elements to work-based learning. At the college level, it's a little easier. So if you go to the next slide, we know that being able to participate in an internship there's so much data out there that shows having an internship while you're in college leads to such great success after graduation. And one of the reasons for that is we're seeing here in Indiana, more and more employers want entry-level workers with previous experience. Employers looking to hire people like straight out of a degree program with no prior work experience in that area, those numbers go down every single year. So for these college students to be able to get a good job using their degree, they need the opportunity to have work experience before graduation, and an internship is the best way to do that. When we look here in Indiana, Latino students and first-generation college students are the ones that are often by far the most underrepresented in internships. And the reason is because you often have to tap into your own personal network to find those opportunities. And first-gen students especially don't usually have a professional network to tap into. So how can you help with this? One, you can host an intern. If you go ahead and go to the next slide. You can host an intern if you're able to do that, but not every business is able to do that. So if you can't host your own intern, there are lots of different ways. So you can help with wraparound supports to your businesses who are looking to hire interns, or for interns that maybe have to travel quite a bit of ways to take on an internship. You can also provide mentorship to interns or mentorship to businesses on how to handle an intern and how to guide them through this process. And then if you work really closely with college students, you can provide a lot of information back to businesses around some barriers they might have that they don't even realize are barriers. So, like around GPA or major restrictions or things like that. So just helping kind of open up businesses' eyes to how they might be accidentally excluding a population of students because of arbitrary restrictions. But overall, work-based learning, either at the high school level or at the college level, is such an amazing opportunity for students. And here at Ascend, we are here to help. So if you want to get more active in this space, or if you're trying to figure out what role can I play in this, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to chat. And thank you all so much for letting me present this morning.
Thank you
No,
so much for your amazing participation today, Nyoka.
well, we are going to move forward with the next speaker that we have today. And if we can move to the slides, Ligia. Thank you, Nuka, again for your participation and for all this wonderful information. Okay, so we're going to move forward and we're going to join Natalie Duarte. She's from Indiana 529. She will be sharing some strategies on how to pay for college without FAFSA or scholarships. Natalie, welcome, and it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yes, again, my name is Natalie Duarte. I'm the Institutional Relationship Manager for the Indiana 529 plan. And I want to take a moment to thank everyone that is actually joining the call today, because you're taking that initiative to learn about different programs, that are going to help your students, because a lot of times, a lot of these programs aren't as easily accessible. And so taking that time to learn and take it back, really, makes a huge impact. So yes, with Indiana 529, it often does get overlooked as well when thinking about planning for college or higher education. I'm going to be talking about some myths that I often hear, what the tax benefits are for here in Indiana. A lot of questions that I get asked is like, what happens if my student doesn't go to school? What happens with those funds? And so we'll go through here. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to kind of put them in the chat and I'll answer them as they come in. So, next slide, please. All right, so some fiction that I often hear. Number one is it costs a lot to open up an Indiana 529. Well, I'm here to tell you that it only takes $10 to get the account started and active. And then moving forward, it's only a $10 minimum for a one-time or ongoing contributions. So it does make it really affordable for families to kind of start earlier on. You're not required to put in an X amount of money, every so often. This is really a save as you go, however much you're able to, because any little bit is going to help make a difference when we're talking about college and how expensive it's going. It gets year after year. The second one is it's too late. A 529 is only for kids. That's also not true. It often gets overlooked when we're talking about high school students or college students that are already, that are nearing or already having to pay. Because you can use this at any age. That's being young is not a requirement. Now, while you may not have the timeline for growth over time, you're still able to take advantage of that tax benefit, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. The third one is it can only be used for college. Now, that might have been true when the plan started, back then. It was originally called College Choice 520 or College Choice Direct, which it then rebranded to Indiana 529 because it opened up. Now you can use this for, college, 2 or 4-year universities, trade school, vocational schools, apprenticeships, as long as they're registered with the Secretary of Labor, graduate programs, and so forth. The fourth one being a 529 can only be used in your home state. Same thing. You can use this anywhere in Indiana. You can use this anywhere in the country and even abroad, as long as the program that the student is interested in is US accredited and they're able to take some form of financial aid. That just helps make sure that it's qualified. And then lastly, always have questions on this. If the beneficiary doesn't go to school, you'll lose your money. Your money's stuck. You can't do anything with it. We'll talk about that here in the next couple of slides. You can go ahead. So we'll start with tax benefits because Indiana has definitely one of the most aggressive ones in the country when it comes to that. So in Indiana, your contributions are eligible for a state income tax credit of 20% up to $1,500 credit per year per household. So if your student, is already gonna have to pay out of pocket, this could be a great option because you can kind of use this as a pass-through account essentially. You can put the money in today, in the next, couple of weeks once the money settles and you need to take it out to pay for tuition or supplies, things like that. You're able to take it out and still be able to get the tax credit come tax season. So that's a nice little savings there for money that you're already going to have to pay out of pocket. You can go back. So the maximum credit allowed for married taxpayer filing separately is $750 each. And to get the credits, the money just has to be in by December 31st in good order. And again, it's only for Indiana taxpayers. So it's a great benefit for us Hoosiers. The next one is going to be the tax deferred growth. So as long as the money is still in the account, you don't have to worry about paying any federal or state taxes. The money is just going to continue to grow, being compounded. So another great benefit. And then lastly, as long as the funds are used for a qualified higher education expense, you don't even have to worry about any taxes for the withdrawals. It's going to come out completely tax-free. So again, you can use this for 2 4-year, public, private universities, colleges, vocational, trade school. You can use this for tuition, for fees, certain room and board costs, supplies and equipment, and so forth. So for example, we've been talking a lot about skilled labor. Let's say someone is wanting to go into HVAC. For any tools or supplies and things that they need, they can use that with an Indiana 529. They can pay for that through here instead of having to fully come out of pocket. They're taking advantage of that tax credit a little bit. So you can go to the next slide. All right, here's where I also have a lot of questions. If my beneficiary doesn't go to school, my money's gone, I'm out of money, it gets stuck. So you have quite a few options here. The first one is you can leave the money in the account until a later date. So when you're setting up the account, you're going to put it, the year the student is going to graduate. Now, you don't have to use it by that date at all. A lot of people now are taking gap years, trying to figure things out a little bit, and that's perfectly fine. They can take, some time, go to school in the next couple of years, and the money will still be there invested. The second option is you can change the beneficiary to another member of the family. So it can be another child, a future grandchild. Now the IRS, again, very loose definition. So uncles, nieces, nephews, you can kind of use it in the family. The third one is you can make a non-qualified withdrawal. So if you're like, you know what, I'm gonna not use this for school, actually, I need to use it for something else, that's fine. You're liable for federal and state taxes and the 10% tax penalty on the earnings portion because the money that you put in is already post-tax. So again, only on the earnings portion, and then a possible tax credit recapture. And then the last one is going to be a rollover to a Roth IRA. So this is a new provision with the Secure Act 2.0. There's a lot of details surrounding it, but the max that you can roll over is $35,000. The transfers are subject to annual Roth IRA contribution limits. No contributions or earnings from the last 5 years can be transferred. So again, this one has just a little bit more details. And if you wanted to learn more about that, I would recommend going to the IRS website. But yeah, so those are great four options. All here to say is your money is not stuck. You have different ways to utilize it if plans change. And again, it's not just for college, but you can use it for the different programs as well. You can go to the next slide. So some additional resources that I like to talk about is the Indiana Department of Revenue Income Tax Bulletin 98 and the IRS Publication 970, especially if you're planning on using this, right away for college or time is getting close. Because this is really going to have all the different tax benefits, what qualifies, what doesn't qualify, all those details. Housing, if I do housing on campus, if I do housing like across the street in an apartment, that's going to give you all the details to really help make sure your withdrawals are qualified. And then I put in a link there for our disclosure booklet because again, it has all the specific details of the program. You can go to the next slide. So enrolling in the 529 is super easy. You can either go on indiana529direct.com to enroll or the Ready Save mobile app. That's kind of new. You can do it directly on the app. You would choose your investment option. We have our year of enrollment, which is essentially what it sounds like, the year that the student is supposed to enroll in school. And this portfolio is automatically going to rebalance and get a little bit more conservative as time gets near because they know they no longer have that luxury of time. They're getting pretty close. And then we also have our individual portfolios. So if someone really enjoys to do the research, they want to make the investments a little bit more tailored to their likes, this could be a good option. And then step 3, make that initial $10 contribution. Because again, it doesn't take a lot of money. You need $10 to get the account started and make it active. So for the account owner, you would need social security number, date of birth, permanent address, and email address. And for the beneficiary, you would need social security number, date of birth, and state of residence. As far as the account owner and beneficiaries, so pretty much anyone can be the account owner, any U.S. citizen or resident alien, usually a parent, grandparent or other family member or friend. Neither one, the account owner or beneficiary, are subject to income eligibility requirements, and you can own multiple accounts. So if you have multiple kiddos, perfectly fine to have multiple accounts. Same thing with the beneficiary, you can have multiple accounts because oftentimes parents will have an account for their child, but maybe grandparents want to contribute separately, to another account. Perfectly fine too. Another thing that I want to just also point out is you can open up an account for yourself. So if a student is, in college paying for school, they can open one up for themselves as well to contribute and get that tax credit. And then lastly, I wanted to actually you can, oh yes, UGift. One thing that I also wanted to add here that I didn't put on the slide is another benefit of the Indiana 529 is we have something that's called UGift. So each beneficiary has a unique UGift code that they're able to share freely via social media, printed, mailed, etc. And so for birthdays, for holidays, and things like that, graduations, they can actually ask for contributions into their education plan rather than a traditional gift. And, kind of help save a little bit more for school that way. In Indiana, the greatest benefit is that contributors, as long as they're Indiana taxpayers, they're the ones that qualify for the 20% state income tax credit for making the contribution. So it's kind of a win-win there. And yeah, I know you can go to the next slide. I know we went over, a lot of information in a short amount of time. But if anyone has any specific questions, I meet with people one-on-one all the time. So if you wanted to share me as a resource to your families or to your schools, I'd be more than happy to do so. But the biggest takeaway here, it's not too early and it's never too late to start saving in the Indiana 529. High school students, college students can still save for it and still be eligible for the tax credit, especially if they're already having to pay out of pocket. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie, for all this information, this very important information, and for supporting us today, giving this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of our speakers. We're so grateful for all the resources that you present since coming to the new diploma, since having TeenWorks as a resource, and having the Indiana 529. All of these resources are really valuable for all the students, teachers, counselors, families, and we know they will cause a big impact. And the great explanations that you gave it to us today are fantastic. We would like to open the floor for those who still here and are interested, and we would like to know anything else about this wonderful topic.
Hi, I would like to thank Natalie for presenting today. I also had a quick question about the other presentation for TeenWorks. I would like any contact information. So I'm with IU Indianapolis, and we just want to be able to support any college panels or college fairs. So if we can get like more contact information from the presenters today, that will also be helpful.
We definitely can send you that information. We will send the minutes later on, and you will have access to this video as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, please feel free to ask any question. See if you guys have another ones, because we have our wonderful speakers here ready for us, just for us. It's like a personal, amazing coaching today.
I had a question for Nyoka Clark. My name is Anita. I am the social work intern here at ILI. So I'm very interested in like the new high school diploma process. Um, when do students start looking for like the internship opportunities as well as the work? Like, does that start like freshman year, or is that just only for like juniors and seniors?
So if they're going to do like an internship or an apprentice where they go and they work for an employer, it's generally just their junior and senior years, which means they typically start looking at about their sophomore year. Now they can do it as a freshman or a sophomore, but employers tend to want you to be like at least 16, so you have the ability to drive yourself.
Thank you.
Or maybe our speakers have any advice for all of our teachers and counselors across the state, how to encourage, how to motivate them, or how to push hard this education.
Ligia, hey, sorry. Excuse my voice. I'm struggling with a cold or whatever it is. So, I had a question for, is it Nyoka?
Yeah, Nyoka. Yeah.
Nyoka, sorry. Nyoka, hi, Marissa Zambrano. I'm the executive director of the Marion Leadership Initiative. Um, I have a question. We have some international students. Do you have opportunities for international students in internship opportunities? Has
Like
that been a challenge or?
at the college level?
Yes. So like it would be a junior or senior that are studying here internationally.
So yes, it's typically been a little bit of a barrier to get employers who are able to take on internship or international students and internships. If it is an unpaid internship, those tend to be a lot easier to get employers to say yes to. It's the paid internships that typically tend to be a big barrier.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since we don't have any more questions right now, I think we're so grateful, and we're going to say thank you to Natalie, thank you to Nayoka, and thank you so much, Nick, for being presenting today. We will share all these resources that you guys provide us today. And we know that we're absolutely impactful in our teachers and counselors, and we know that it's going to change Indiana, because that's what we're looking for. We're trying to make our students' post-secondary dreams come true, and all the career path that they are pursuing, right? So since that, we would like to invite you for our next comedy. We will give you updated how our education summit is looking like, and all the needs and all the support that would like to have from you. Mainly is to bring your students. This event is free. We will have more resources like ASEN. We potentially will have TeenWorks. We will have another institutions who would like to support us and share more additional resources to the students. The wonderful piece of this one is we're hosting over 4,000 students all across the state, and most of the high schools are super excited to participate, but they haven't signed up. So we encourage you to sign up your students. We still have pretty low numbers in the southern region, and in the northern region, we're still pretty low as well. So we would like to have you there. We would like to share all the resources and everything that is accessible to your students to thrive, because that's what we're looking for, right? Thrive and change Indiana. And I love to tell our students, let's change the world. But when we say let's change the world, that doesn't mean you have to go and change exactly everything. Your world means your family, your friends, everything that is around you. And then you started to be contagious, and we can start to change everything. And small pieces, little pieces make the big difference, right? So for our next meeting is going to be in October 15, and we'll be having an overview about the migratory status and how to support the students, and FAFSA eligibility, and the common mistakes that our families, the students are making under FAFSA, and how accessible it's going to be now and easy, and the new process that we'll be covering this year. And if you guys need any support, Indiana Latino Institute is here. We have FAFSA support. We're going to have our FAFSA open house in October 4th. So we're hoping to host a lot of students in the house. Last year, we hosted 186 people. Was exciting. We were not prepared for that, but this year we're extremely prepared and extremely excited to fill up all of those FAFSAs, and looking forward to see you. You will be receiving an invitation pretty soon to be part of this. And thank you everyone for being with us today.
Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you again for your commitment today and with the students, families, and our communities across Indiana. You have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. See you next
Bye.
time.